Welcome back to the fourth and final segment of Go Gaddis Real Estate Radio this Saturday on AM 920 The Answer. I'm Cleve Gaddis, host of this show. I've been host on the radio in Atlanta for, 13, 14 years now, done hundreds of radio shows. My absolute favorite guest to have on with me, and a lot of times she's live here in Atlanta. This time she's actually joining us online from Frisco, Texas, is Tammy Slay.
Hello, Mr. Gaddis.
Thank you for sticking with me for 3 full segments. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
You're doing all the heavy lifting. I get to relax when I have you on because you like to talk, and I love that. And I think people like listening to you way more than they like listening to me, because when I go on a listing appointment, everybody asks the same question: where's Tammy? I said, well, she lives in Dallas. She doesn't live here, so she's not coming out on these appointments with me today. So we are talking all things grandparents. We have 5 grandkids between us now. We have 11 kids, 8 kids, and 3 spouses of our kids. And we will go from 5 to 8 grandkids by next April. So we are in the grandkid production business right now, and they are keeping us jumping. We'll have a December, we'll have a February, and then I think we'll have an April. I mean, certainly we don't know that those times will work out, but by April we will have 8 grandkids. And we're talking about what we want as grandparents in terms of sort of the homestead or the estate or the farm or whatever in the heck we want to call it. And we want it to be an experience for our grandkids. We want it to be an experience for our kids. We would love our grandkids to get up on Saturday morning and just bug their parents to death about, hey, are we going to see, Granny and Papa? Are we going to see Nammy and Peepaw? Depending upon where we are, we have different names in Atlanta than we have in Dallas. And so you were asking me as we went to the break a question, and so I thought maybe if you wanted, you could take the opportunity to ask the question on air.
All right. Well, you've heard about my grandparent memories, my memories with my grandparents, and we haven't spent time talking about your memories with your grandparents, but I know of several of them because you've shared them, and I know your grandparents played a significant role in your life, and you have very tender memories. So share some of those experiences you had with your grandparents that stand out to you.
Yep. So my grandparents on my mother's side, and I called her Mimi and him Daddy. So like a dad of a daddy, which I thought, I don't know where that came from. I guess it was from Kay, my sister. And they lived in Sylvan Hills. For those of you who are not aware, that's just north of of Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, basically between the interchange and the old, I think it was called Fort McPherson. I forget. It's the Tyler Perry Studios now. And so they lived maybe 20 minutes from where we lived, maybe 30 minutes. We lived Wesley Chapel and I-20 as we were growing up. And we would go over there quite often, and we would go over mostly to eat. Sometimes I would go stay with them, and my grandfather was a gardener and a tinkerer. And you've never met anyone who took better care of his tools. And he would he would oil like his wrenches and stuff to keep them, and I don't even quite understand it, but when we would get through working, we would start cleaning everything up, and we'd clean up the shovels, and we'd clean up the rakes and all this kind of stuff. He had a compost pile in the backyard, and he taught me all about how to do the compost and how to turn it up to get air in there and all of the different things. But my grandmother passed away in 1978. And so I was 10 years old when she passed away, and my grandfather was not doing very well, and so which makes perfectly good sense because he was lonely, and so he came to live at our house for just a little while. And to say that was not working for my mother, I think would be an understatement. After about 3 or 4 days, she's like, I got to ship him out of here. So she decided that it would make sense for me to go live with him. So it was just a month, maybe just a month, and I was 11. And she dropped me off at his house, and we love to go eat, and we like to go to eat at Piccadilly that was down near the airport. I don't remember what exit it was at. No, not Piccadilly, Morrison's. I don't remember the name of the cafeteria, but there was a place he loved to go, and Daddy didn't see very well, and so he would let me drive. When I was 11 years old, driving that car all over Sylvan Hills. And it was so interesting. He had all of the green lights timed. So he's like, if you go 35 miles an hour between this light and this light, then the next one won't be red, it'll be green. He had it all figured it out. He was an electrician. And so he was great that way. And so my Mimi was a fabulous freaking cook. And she would come out on the fire escape on the back of the property, and she'd say, ooh-hoo, ooh-hoo. That's how she'd call us in to eat. And she'd make beautiful breakfast and beautiful lunch and beautiful dinners. And I'd go to church with them. They went to Sylvan Hills Baptist Church, and I just loved all of that. So that's on my mother's side. They were here in Atlanta. On my father's side, his mom lived in Atlanta. She lived at Phillips Presbyterian Towers. For those who are familiar with Decatur will know it's right downtown Decatur. And I would go to her house, and this is before they brought the MARTA train into the area. And there was a restaurant called the Square Table, and she used to love to walk to the Square Table and eat, and we'd walk to church. And she was a big crafter, so we were always making things or knitting things or making Christmas stockings for people. We were always doing something creative, and I just remember that. And you mentioned how you felt like your being with your grandparents was a really, really safe place. And for me, it was exactly the same. And I think probably my favorite place to go in terms of a grandparent was my granddad on my dad's side lived in Tallahassee. He lived near the federal penitentiary, which is I think, just north east of Tallahassee. And not that that's significant, although somebody did break out of the penitentiary and broke into one of the houses on the street. My grandfather had to go get the person. But anyway, so he had a farm. He was a retired pilot. He was a Cessna dealer, and he had a contract and used to fly around a lot of the government officials, the governor and people like that in the state of Florida. And he had retired, and he bought a 100-acre farm on Lake Talquin. Anybody who knows Lake Talquin, this is gonna sound terrible, and if anybody who lives on Lake Talquin is listening, they're gonna hate me, but it was kind of like a junk lake. It was full of trees and snapping turtles, and his little section of the lake, there was nothing nice about it. There was no swimming in that lake. I wouldn't even walk down near it for being afraid a snapping turtle would grab me and pull me in there. But we would go to the farm during the day, and we would do work, and we would cut grass, and we would shoot guns at targets and in trees, and we would just do all kinds of fun stuff. We'd eat beanie weenies and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. He had an old army barracks that was on the property, and we just had so much fun. He had a big barbecue pit. In fact, my grandfather on my mother's side, their family used to see how long they could say a prayer. And so my grandfather on my dad's side invited my grandparents on the mother's side to come down, and some of the brothers did, and one of them said a blessing, and that was way too long for my grandfather on my dad's side. And so I used to say the blessing. It was very simple. We thank him, amen. Simple story. And then he had that engraved on a board, and he put it on the inside of the barbecue pit. And the next time my other grandfather came down, he said, okay, everybody look at the sign. It's time to eat. He wasn't going to let anybody else pray that long. He said it was time to eat. So thank you for asking me that question. It was really kind of fun to go down memory lane and talk about grandparents.
Yeah, it was. And I learned even a little bit more there of the kind of foods you ate. And I think you had told me before you lived with him for a month, but I didn't remember it was after the passing of your grandmother.
Yep, that's what drove it. Yep, that's exactly what drove it. And it worked out fine, and he got totally acclimated, and he went on and just had a great, he bought a little condo down in Cocoa Beach so he could go watch the Houston Astros play their winter baseball. He just had a blast, bought a new car, just had all kinds of, had a good rest of his life. He lived another 5 or 6 years after that.
So when your children were growing up, so how were the experiences they had with their grandparents? So like for me, my dad, he gardened, and that's one thing that I think about is my children with my father. What about your children with their grandparents? Were there any memories that stand out to you that you're like, that's something I want to hang on to and replicate?
Let me think. So on their mother's side, the grandmother and the grandfather both lived here in Atlanta, although the grandfather lived part-time in Tupelo, Mississippi, and here. I don't know that I have any specific things that they did with the grandkids. There is probably some stuff, Tammy, and I'm embarrassed to say I might not even know what it is that we want to duplicate. My dad passed away when the two youngest two oldest had just been born, so they never really knew him. But my mother lived here close, and she'd love to take them and do things. So for her, it was always, taking them shopping or taking them out to eat or doing something that she thought was fancy, taking them to get their nails done. And I think they probably absolutely love that.
Oh, I know they did.
And I bet you've had your nails done with my mother as well.
I have. Yes, she has treated me to my own nails getting done, and that was a fun experience too. So I know your girls enjoyed that with with her as well.
Okay, so we found our home that we're going to buy, and let's just say it's in Dallas. And there is something about the primary suite that you would like to have that is different than in most primary suites. Tell everybody what you would like to have, because I think it's a great thing to have.
Well, I hope your thought is on where my thought is, because are you talking about the 2 toilets?
I'm talking about 2 bathrooms.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
2 bathrooms and 2 closets.
Yes. Oh, yes. So we could have one main area.
Yep, that has the shower, that has the tub, that has the vanities, all of that.
Well, we could even have separate vanities.
Well, but we can have vanities for both of us in the main area, but then you can have a separate, right? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I'm looking for a separate toilet from you. So you have your toilet on one side, I have my toilet on another
Okay,
side.
we're all good. We're all good with the toilets. I'm talking about vanities. So we'll have 2 vanities together, and then you'll have another vanity that's over towards your closet or something like that, and then we'll have separate closets on either side of the toilet area. Is that right?
That is right. That is right.
And you have a friend who has that, and they just love it.
They love it. Yes, when I saw that, I went, this is the most genius thing ever.
And their grandparents too. Tammy, thank you so much for being here for 3 segments and talking about grandparents. I cannot tell you how excited I am about growing old as a grandparent with you. Thank you very much for joining us for another week's edition of Go Gaddis Real Estate Radio. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel. We'll talk to you then. Have a great week, Atlanta.